Hi guys, what's happening? What's going on? It's been a while since I've spoken to you all about my abuse and different aspects of it. I sort of put it to one side for a while because I wasn't feeling too great myself and I didn't really want to chat about it here. But today's video is going to be about my abuser's suicide. I can't say his name because obviously he was never convicted, blah blah blah. So in relation to the suicide itself, when it happened, he died in 2014. Yeah, 2014. So he's been dead for 2 years now. When he died, I had a lot of emotions towards him and towards the fact that he took his own life. I was extremely frustrated in the fact that he took his own life because for me he was taking away yet something else from me, like something more that I didn't have control over. The fact that I wanted him to go to court and I wanted to face him in that courtroom and for him to be found guilty of what he'd done. I didn't want, to me, him killing himself, he's just taken that last little step for me in gaining closure away from me, and I'll never get that moment where I can say yes, he's been in that courtroom and yes, he was found guilty. He might have made admissions to people close to him about what he'd done, but I never got that chance to maybe confront him or have that moment in the courtroom. That's all the reason why I wanted to go to the police is to have that guilty verdict, and I'm never now going to have that because he took that last thing away from me. Some people have said to me, well, it shows how guilty he was, but to me it just shows that he was a coward all along and that he did all those things to me in cowardice. He was never that strong man that people see him to be, not that person of high stature in the community that people thought he was. And it angers me that I'm never going to see him in a courtroom, and it angers me that still now people don't like to speak about him in the way that they should be speaking about him as a sexual abuser. He abused me as a child. For me, I'm frustrated. When my mum phoned me and told me that he had died, I had this feeling the night before. I couldn't sleep, I was restless. And it was weird. It was really odd that the next day I had that phone call from my mum asking me if I was on my own, if I was with anybody. And obviously Katie Jo was with me, and she phoned me and told me that he was dead, that they'd found him dead in his car, and his car had been set on fire from the inside. And I just completely broke down, and I was angry. I was so angry at the fact that he took that way out. I just couldn't comprehend the fact that he could do that. I knew it was a possibility, and we'd said all along because we knew about his mental health and the fact that he'd been diagnosed with depression, and he'd talked about it with my mum and dad before, but I don't think any part of me really thought that he would go through with it. And there I was, sat there thinking, he's done it. And my instant gut reaction was, I wanted to go back to Cambridge, and I wanted to be there while things were being found out. I didn't want to be finding things out so far away. I wanted to be a part of finding all that information out. A part of me was sad because a member of my family had died, but it was a very, very small part, and I don't think I really grieved in reality of him dying at all, because there was also a relief that he couldn't continue doing those things to me. I would never be put in that position where he had the chance to do those things to me. I knew for a fact that he wouldn't be able to do that to anybody else. And yeah, I was relieved, and maybe a little bit of me was happy that I had that little bit of relief. Part of me was guilty that he'd died as well, because obviously without me coming forward to the police, maybe he'd still be alive now, and part of that does weigh on me. That little part of me does weigh with that guilt that he isn't any longer here, and obviously there are members of his family left behind that don't choose to face the fact that what he's done. I like to think that since he's died, I've got more closure from certain things. I like to think that I've been able to deal with the abuse a lot more, knowing that it's not going to happen again, and there isn't that little doubt that I'll have to encounter him at family parties, funerals, christenings, not that there's going to be many of them in my family, you know, weddings, birthdays, Christmases, parties, knowing that he isn't going to be there, or that I'm going to have to make gentle conversation with him and act like everything is okay, is good. And it does help a lot. Still, I find it hard to go back to Cambridge, and I still find it hard that people don't really know him for the person that he was. And it does make me really, really angry that I'm still speaking about this topic and people who knew him don't know him for that person, and it's frustrating. It's really frustrating. And people will say to me, you're hanging on to something, but to me, I'm not hanging on to the fact that, well, maybe I am, but it took up a large percentage of my childhood, and obviously the psychological effects of it do carry on, and I do relive it at times through nightmares and things like that, and I do get agitated with the fact that people believe him to be this person that he's not, and that's all because of the way that he died. And if it'd gone to court, they would know what happened. They would hear it from my side, and they wouldn't see him as this poor man that killed himself. They would see him for the person that he was. But I've never really had the chance for that to come to light, except to my family, people beyond that worked with him, that went for a drink with him. You know, they don't see that person, and even maybe some of those people that have heard or seen a glimpse of this, maybe they don't want to believe it, and that's okay. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but I just wish that it wasn't all hushed up all the time. Having an abuser that's just killed himself isn't great, because it means that me as the victim, I don't get the closure that I need, and it's always been on his terms, him doing the things he wants to do to me, him putting me in the position that he wants me to be in, manipulating situations, manipulating what is said in situations, making himself to be this admirable person. And then when I try and take back the control of the situation, he again has that last grasp on what happens. And sometimes I feel at a loss, and I'm so frustrated in the situation that I don't know what to do about it. But I think that's always going to be one of those things that stays with me, is the frustration at the way that the whole case came to an end, and the fact that it just sort of stopped and there wasn't any end to it, and him getting found guilty or him facing what he's done. But then that's something that I've now got to process and deal with, and I've had to process and deal with, because there is no other way for me to be able to deal with that, really. It's just going to be that way going forward, and that doesn't change. At least if he was put in prison, then there would have been that final stage for me, that you've gone through all these interviews, you've gone through all the retelling of the story, you've gone through people finding out, and it doesn't feel like it, not that it doesn't feel like it was for nothing at the end of the day, but it feels like I've reached that end goal that I set out to do, and I didn't set out for him to kill himself, and that's why part of me feels a little bit guilty, is because at the end of the day he killed himself as a result of me coming forward, and there's me who wanted him to go to the police and be convicted of the actions he took against me, when I was in a position where I should have been able to trust him. But there we go. That's what happens sometimes. Sometimes things are beyond your control and you can't really help what happens. But that's another stepping stone in the whole situation of my abuse that I wanted to share with you guys, and a few of my thoughts and feelings on the matter. I'm sure I'll speak about this again, and chat to you again soon.